Yeah, all good, all good. We were a little worried that you kind of jumped on and saw us and just thought, oh, it's them, and just ran away. So
Never, never in a million years. I jumped on and I've got so many, like if you could see the space that I work in this office, this crazy little on the other side of this computer is just shit, wires and microphones and everybody I hook up with to do an interview, a Zoom, a whatever podcast, it's plugging in something else. So right when I signed on to this Zoom, I could hear you guys really loud on monitors, but I had this other microphone system hooked up, so I had to sign off and
yeah,
take it off. I wasn't running from your beautiful faces, I promise.
charmer. Well, thank you for doing this. It's we wanted to get you for a long, long time on here. It's something that
I want to talk to you guys all the time. I didn't really kind of I'm so out of my mind that I don't know if I put two and two together that it was you behind the spate,
oh right, okay, yeah,
it's like I knew this, but then I didn't know it. And then I always love the stuff that's posted. And I'm always, I'm a biggest fan of Richard Spate in the world. He's responsible for
yeah.
so much great in my life. Anytime I see something lovely or a memory or an anniversary about him, I'm constantly like, boom, 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 reminded of these great things because we've been working together for 20 years now. So
Sure.
you guys are responsible for literally bringing so much spate and joy to my life. So thank you.
Oh, bait and joy. I like that. That's cute. Beth, please tell me you're recording already.
I am.
Thank
But
Oh
goodness. I was gonna
yeah,
say,
someone else.
record.
do not, don't miss that.
Oh my
Nice bit
God.
of praise.
It's
Yeah, I
happened
mean,
too many times.
yeah, yeah, it happened last time for us. Obviously, yeah, I mean, we are rich focused, but we do like to celebrate, the kind of peripheral people, the people in the family. We are branching out, and I've felt kind of really strongly for a while that we wanted to get you on, just because we've done a few cons since lockdown, and I am just baffled and staggered by how many fans are brand new. And I just wonder how many of them really know what a driving force you were in the experience that they're having at conventions. Because so much of what we're enjoying is what you and Rich put in place for us. And when I see, 90% of the hands going up that they're brand new or it's their first convention, I'm just like, do they really know the legacy of this? Do they know what an impact that Matt has on that? And for me, I don't think there's anybody that has, if you compare screen time in the show versus impact on the fandom and the community, I, you are insane. I mean, you've done, 2 episodes you're in, one a cameo, and then you've directed one. And yet when I look at that, that makes no sense to me, because to me, you're front and center. So for us, having you is a really big deal.
I just first and foremost, thank you for that flattery. And I appreciate anybody taking the time to want to sit down and talk more than just some surface level, bullshit that we talk these days based on some
Sure.
political headline or nonsense. So thank you for saying all that stuff. And number two, it's like, yes, I look at the wild scenario where I've done so little on the show and am so welcomed and accepted by the fandom that I go, how can this happen? And then when you take a bigger step back from it all, you go, of course, that's how the supernatural fandom works. It's not about who's famous and who's the more screen time or who's this or who's that. It's about finding a place where you can be comfortable enough to be yourself, whether that self version of you is offensive to some, loved by others, hated by few, whatever it may be. But you find a place where you can be that person and then in exchange allow the people across from you to be themselves and then to continue building on that. And sometimes we piss each other off, but most of the time it's a good interaction and I'm thankful and fulfilled. And I know I leave the fans thankful and fulfilled because they look at me and they're like, whatever. A lot of people put me in that actor category, which we'll get into later. I don't put myself into that category, but a lot of people put me into that where, oh, if I can get a sentence in with Matt at an autograph table, wow, that was a cool thing. For me, I'm looking to have a conversation like I'm on a podcast with every person I meet because I need the interaction. I grew up as a latchkey kid. I was locked down. I was behind closed doors. My dad worked all the time. I was always by myself. I didn't have a social life till I was 25 years old. I joke all the time. I tell people I didn't cry till I was an actor because I was told, be tough, don't cry as a young man. And then all of a sudden you go to Hollywood and they're paying you to cry. You're like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest thing ever. Emotions. But then going back to the fandom, like they gave me a platform. You can go back and see my very first convention. There's plenty of tape of it. It's me and Amy Gumanek in
Yeah.
Birmingham, and I'm
Yeah.
stiff as a board.
2009.
I'm literally trying to do some Matt Cohen terrible impression of Jared. I thought he was cool. I thought Jensen was cool. I was like, how do I be cool? I put on a beanie and, I didn't know what I was doing. I was terrified. And to the man I am now, it took the supernatural fandom to allow me to be proud and become a person that I could be proud of. And that's inexchangeable for anything. And, you know, it's, it, it's about, what's the saying, right? Family don't end in blood. It is so dang true. And as I battle relationships within my own family and I reach out to my non-blood related family members, I've never been closer with the supernatural fandom. I mean, this day than ever before. I mean, they're helping me make my dreams come true. They're investing their dollars in me for no good reason except I'm an excited boy with a dream that's living in a 42-year-old broken ass frame. You know what I'm saying? They're looking at me and I'm looking at them and I'm going, "Hey, Hollywood's gotten very difficult and it's difficult, especially for journeyman performers like myself, who never really made the $10 million, movie, but I've happily paying my bills, and this is what I do for 20 years. And now it's like they're kind of eliminated that class of actor
Yeah.
because all the bigger actors have to come down to TV and whatnot because money is tighter.
Yeah.
So to be in a room with people and to shake their hand and spend 10 minutes at a vendor's table with them, it's what I need. I talked in depth on stage, kind of coming out of the pandemic when I started coming back to creation shows that I was really in a bad place during the pandemic, as were so many, right? For so many different
Yeah.
reasons. We had lost people, we had sick people. It was just devastating worldwide, obviously. Needless to say, I didn't understand while I was very happy in the beginning because I was at home for 6 months with my wife and kid, and I you can't I can't tell you guys that the most valuable commodity is time. We know this at this point, right? Like it's our minutes together that make up any relevant existence
Sure.
whatsoever. So my time was great, and then all of a sudden I kept dipping, and every time I dipped lower emotionally, lower and lower and lower, and everything hurt so much more, and I had no idea why. And to the point where I had gone to try to go to a convention. It wasn't a creation show, it was another show. And I drove myself to the airport and basically had a panic attack and couldn't go. And I was like, I just can't, why can't I just can't park my car and get myself to go on the plane right now. And I didn't know what was going on. And had I gotten on that plane, it would have solved my problem earlier than later. But I let my fear stand in the way. Like, why do I feel like this? I'm not the same person I was when this audience knew me before. I can't present this. I don't feel like I can elevate anybody's life. I'm not of value to them. So you talk yourself into these spaces. And what it was I was missing a connection of community. And it's why I preach it to my friends, to my wife, to my kid, everybody now. We are not this. We are not looking
Yeah.
and living at each other through a screen. Okay, it's great. Let this be your cigarette. Let this be your McDonald's. You can't have it all the time. No,
Sure.
we need this. And I don't even care even if it's Zoom, because obviously Zoom is somewhat annoying, but at least we get to look at each other without something
Faces,
in a, and
voices.
talk, right? This is like
Yeah.
boys and girls when we got a phone in our room when we were a little kid for the first time, and back before cell phones, you were able to call up
Sure.
your friend. Like this is today's version of that. So whatever, we got to accept it. I know I'm in my 40s, I'm getting old, blah blah blah. I'm gonna bitch about all the technology, but bringing it all back home, bringing the whole thing back home, the person that I discovered on the stage in front of a supernatural fandom is 100% because that audience held me accountable to be a good person. And that doesn't exist with every single fan in every single room at every
No.
single supernatural convention. But let me tell you what, a lot of them, the high percentage, are fantastic people looking for a friend, looking to make a memory, looking to laugh and smile.
Yeah.
Occasionally, things can go awry in any situation. But if you zoomed out on, let's say, the 200 and ish whatever conventions that have been supernatural kind of singularly supernatural events, right? Like if you zoom way out, man, there's a lot of happiness there. We
Sure. Yeah.
together made a lot of that, and to deny it in any way, for any actor to come on board and go, I'm just here to get this couple grand so I can pay my bills. Okay, understandable. We all need a job, but open yourself up and be enlightened to what this audience, what this fandom can bring. I mean, it's healing, it's triumphant. We can deal with defeat together better as a whole, and knowing that the celebrity and fandom line is oh so blurry between us makes me so happy. Like
Sure.
we've almost washed it away to the point like I feel like I just drive down the street and be in your guys' house and we can be having this conversation. Like we're that close, and that's a
Yeah.
community. That's a
100%.
family, and I think my boxing partner Martin Snow, he's a great boxing trainer. I opened a gym with him in LA, and he always told me, he said, "Listen, man, you got to be the hero on your own block. You have to be the hero for the people right next to you. You don't need to be this I'm got to be all powerful overseeing of all this. No, like if I invest in you guys and you guys invest in me, we'll be each other's hero. We lift up the people we can touch, the people we can hold each other's hands. And guess what? Block by block by block, city by city, county by state, by country, by continent, the world becomes a better place because we're investing in our community rather than thinking we need a big boss to stand in front of us and let him lead or her lead the way or whatever. Us. We are the people. And Supernatural, the fandom, again, I know it's kind of redundant in the way I speak about it, but it has just given me all that understanding of life. And it's not often you go to be an actor so I can be on TV and wear makeup and play dress up and earn a lot of money for doing arguably a minimal amount of work. And then get the payoff of the supernatural fandom. I'm amongst the luckiest, very, very small group of actors that have ever experienced, a loving community like that within a fandom. I don't think it exists everywhere, and I'm, so fortunate.
Yeah, I believe it does. I used to work conventions quite a lot, not supernatural conventions, the kind of multi kind of fandom conventions, and I quit eventually because Supernatural ruined me for anything else because I got frustrated with the kind of the rules and regulations between, the divide between actors and no, you can't say that, you can't do this. The number of kind of people that I'd looked up to on screen who were just really kind of dismissive in person and I had kind of sat down and thought to myself, I don't want to do this anymore. And I just realized why. It was because we had experienced the best and we had been ruined for any other experience, really.
Well, they say it starts at the top and it trickles down. And we obviously know Jared and Jensen aren't without flaw like any human being on earth, but they're aware of their flaws and they try to work with their flaws to be the best humans they can, and they have been for a long time. That also exists on the fandom side.
Yeah.
Call whatever the top of the fandom is. It's really like everybody's at the top of the fandom, everybody's kind, and when people come into the fandom and they're not nice and they have, weird agendas about stuff, boy, the fandom shows up and goes, hey, hey. And that is a powerful thing. That's being the hero on your own block. You're policing your own block, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
You're going, hey, we've created something really nice here. Let's keep it that way. Yes, We're dirty. We're filthy. We will entertain the fun. We like that. We're humans. We're borderline actor, stand-up comedians in a road circus. Yes, we're gonna be profane. But, at the end of the day, there's kids in the audience. We don't want to, offend everybody out of the room. We want to have a little fun, but we want it to be a safe place. And if a fan doesn't make it safe or an actor doesn't make it safe, bye. Get them out.
Yeah, 100%. I
Yeah.
think that's an interesting point as well. I think that I'm just thinking about the way that obviously lockdown changed things hugely. We came back, they had cons where there was, perspex petitions or no contact and things like that. But I think that cons have changed and the way we interact has changed. The closeness is still there, but I think that there was kind of a point where we were, karaoke ops and stuff like that. We were quite raucous. It was a lot of kind of, oh, that's fine. That'll be right. I just won't show that to anybody. And I think that cons are a little more reserved now. I think we were a little freer with
Yeah.
things. Now they're kind of a little bit more, I don't know if that's appropriate. And it's quite funny being policed by younger people. But I think it's an interesting point. It's a change that I've been kind of very aware of. And also I think that the cast have done really, really well in maintaining the intimacy, but also being mindful of how society has moved on. With things like jokes and stuff. Sometimes I'll look back on an old appearance on something or an old joke, and I just think they'd never make that now. And we're all learning, we're all growing, and I think that's a really important point. Is that, like you said, sometimes we be raucous, we can be wild, but there is that level of respect and that level of, right, okay, I will dial that back if that isn't working anymore.
Yeah, and I'm with you on all those things. There's so many things to unpack there from the early days of Rich and I
Mm.
karaoke and all those wild, wild stories that we got away with while
Yeah,
developing it into what it is now. And the
yeah,
thing I want to kind of touch on the end of it, and let's go back to all those, but the younger generation now, like there's so many new people raising their hand, being introduced to
mm,
the show because of the recent world activity. There
yeah,
is more fear in our
yeah,
audience, just in general, not of us, not of anything in particular, just in general. There is a general fear that's been implanted, unfortunately, largely by kind of, media portrayal of this, that, or the other thing. And I
sure.
and I, and I think that it's so important in the supernatural, under the roof of the supernatural tree, the celebrity and the fandom, to be able to make a mistake and be forgiven. I think that that's a very important thing. Always remember, and I always defend comedy, specifically stand-up comedians, because they're not there knowing what's funny. They're there trying to figure out what's funny. So when they say something absolutely horrendous about a horrible baby dying or some terrible rape joke,
Yeah,
know that it's not to go, trigger victims of any sort
yeah,
of crime. It is because they're trying to
sure.
figure it out. And no, we're not all stand-up comedians in the supernatural world. But in the same way, the fans can sometimes say something obnoxious and or do something obnoxious, which I had something happen in Australia last year, and we handled it real time, and we just got
Yeah,
right through it, and we didn't incinerate somebody for making a mistake. For that was it was a big kind of thing, and in front of
mm,
3,000 people is a huge deal. But whatever, you let it go and you let it slide. And so I extend in the same way I hope to be extended to while I'm on stage, and I like to play with the fans and have a very fun time, and I do say obnoxious and profane things. I would like to make sure that I'm always given the chance to make a mistake and recover in the same way the fan can do that too. And I think that's plays into the safety of the fandom and the safety of the conventions as a whole. We are this. We are a family. You guys are spending your money. We're leaving our families. We want you to be our family. You want us to be your part of your world. Let's do it, and let's take care of each other and forgive each other, grow with each other, teach each other. Some of us are getting older. We're kind of been raised in a different world than the new 20-year-olds, and
sure.
so we do. We make mistakes, but we have the best of intentions. And specifically, the Supernatural team, we go there to entertain you guys in the best possible way we can. Like, we're not trying not to be funny or trying not to be entertained. Like, we want to show up. I mean, you look at Rob and the band and how Jensen and everybody sings, and Like what? They don't have to do that. That never had to be a thing. That became a thing we
No.
loved because you guys loved it. We were like, holy cow, we get to be rock stars for a night, and these people get a a intimate rock star show with 1,000 people or less. That's incredible. That's freaking incredible. And your favorite actor singing. Like what? That's
Yeah,
amazing.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're blessed. And it's I think the blueprint has been carried on to other conventions now. It's what you guys put in place is that's the gold standard now, but everybody wants to do that. You have the karaoke and the concerts at other kind of creation events, and it's the supernatural was the kind of the first and the best, but there are other kind of that are trying to replicate that feel, I think.
and I hope that they do, but I hope that
Yeah.
it's honest. And I see some of the other conventions and the guys really try. I see what they're doing. They got a musical aspect and they're doing karaoke and they're doing these things. And great, more power to them. Listen, I don't need a high five, a biscuit, or a trophy for developing karaoke into the absolute fucking great time it is with the Supernatural team. It is what it is now. Rich and
Yeah.
I worked really hard and gave a lot of energy. Rob, Kim, Bree,
Yeah.
Sebastian, Chad Lindbergh, many, many people worked really hard to make that fun by having a good time with fans. And I think that started when we say Friday people dictate the heartbeat of the weekend, it's so true. And without that Friday karaoke, where people go, okay, all right, we got here Friday. Some of us skipped school. Some of us called into work. We're
Yeah.
here. It's a little low energy. People are trying to pick it up. But by that night, when you get in that free party, you understand that like we got to electrify this thing for Saturday and Sunday. And that's a very important aspect of it. And I think over time, just karaoke bleeds into Saturday and Sunday and makes Saturday and Sunday a better
Yeah,
experience. I think we,
absolutely. People
we're
make
ti
friends. And,
yeah, you're tired. You sang with each other. You got to push through. You're kind of surviving together. You got, like you said, new friends, new relationships. Somebody's telling you a story you don't quite remember. It's fun. It's silly. And it's for all ages, right?
yeah.
Take your phone out, film, but don't forget to put your phone down and look me in the eyes. I'm coming right to see you down there in the crowd. Like I can't tell you, I probably come home from every convention sick because I am basically sucking face with 3,000 people every weekend. Like, I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, I mean, people leave with videos and I'm this close to them singing. There's no way we're not exchanging germs. But it's fantastic. And the new kids are reaping the benefits of years of work, but so be it. That was the intent, right? What's the fucking saying? Great men plant seeds for trees they'll never sit under. Like,
Yeah.
this is living supernatural fandom. And I get so excited because I'm drawing the connections like a therapist inside myself as I tell you, like, this is it. If you want to find out the meaning to life, it's figure out what you're good at and figure out how to help people with it, period. End of story. And do it with people, not with a phone or a screen. Get touch people in any way you can. Your life is only a relationship. Choose to have one or choose to don't. Choose to have one with many, choose to have one with few, sexual, non-sexual, romantic, non-romantic, friend, like however it is, but you got to figure out what it is you're good at, help some people with it, and maintain relationships. That's what the fandom gives me. I have the best circle of parental and friendship, like on my side of the baseball team, right? Like the team of Jared and Jensen and Mark and Misha and Bree and Kim and Rich and Rob and DJ, all these people who stop me from being out of line anytime, and they're always there to hear what I have to say, whether they agree or not, and they're there to check me when I'm way off, and they're there to help me when I'm way down. Like, whoa, like I'm experiencing life, and it's all because I looked a little bit like Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
It's crazy.
Seriously, think about it, what it's given me. Like, I would, you know, my acting career is probably in the toughest place it's ever been today, like right now, as
Yeah.
far as I've been very steady with work for 20 years. And now it's the hardest it's ever been. And I feel okay because I'm like, oh, I still got those people I could reach out to. They are willing to help me. I mean, I am directing, producing, starring in a movie in 2 weeks alongside Brianna Buckmaster, Felicia Day. I don't want to surprise you with the other cameos, but you're
Okay.
going to be fucking
Okay.
surprised. And we're definitely doing it. Like, there's no turning back. I called in favors. I said, hey, I need all you guys to work for basically free. I need everybody in LA that I've ever met to lend me a camera, a light stand, something. And I called everybody, and everybody said yes. And it all stems from who I was that day in Birmingham to who
Mm.
I was able to grow into through being that person on stage, through being confident and courteous and gracious enough to reach out to people in a manner that they want to help me, have been able to been in a position in life to help other people, whether it be any aspect of help, and now they want to be there for me, or people that have seen me help other people and I haven't even really helped them, but they believe in what I'm doing and want to be a part of it. And that's the fandom and the actors, right? Again, like my whole dream. And specifically, we have an executive producer that just recently came on board from the Supernatural fandom for X's. Like, amazing. The movie is going to be executive produced by a fan. It's
I love that.
fucking perfect. And at the same time, I'm raising money for Public Domain, which is this
Yeah.
fantastic cartoon that we're going to make. And money's coming in. We're having silly conversations. We're creating characters. Now we have one of the top animators in television who hopped on board helping us create animations. And that all started from our very own Supernatural fandom artist, Scout, who created sketches for our characters so we could better pitch them in meetings, and they got the concept literally based. So everything I've done, I got a movie executive produced by fans, I have Public Domain created by Sean Flanagan and literally helped bring to life by one of Supernatural's fandom's own, Scout, who is done per I have art on my wall from supernatural artists all over my house. Like, it's crazy how intertwined my life
Yeah.
is. And earlier in this conversation, I said I want to get back to the celebrity thing, and I kind of just
Mhm.
remembered what it was. And it's that the word celebrity is a weird word because people hold it as a title, kind of, and I
Sure.
like accessible. I want to be the accessible person, whether I'm a celebrity or I'm a personality or whatever the fuck. I want to be the accessible one, so I don't have to walk around and people feel like, whew, that's can't I can't
Yeah.
get them. That's okay on some scales because some people, need that protection from some crazy people. I
Yeah.
don't, and I've kept it that way for so long. And no matter if I'm winning an Emmy or, getting cast in this or like whatever it is, like I'm always accessible. And that has also given me the sense of community with the fans where I have now a public email people can reach out to me. There's many ways people can reach me, and I love this. And it took me 15 years to be able to go, okay, I'm going to just allow the fans
Yeah.
to flood in however they want. I try to connect with as many as I can, and I love it, and I'm never going to let it go. I'm looking at my potential for being at creation cons next year, and the docket is quite booked up with other talent already, so I'm trying to get to one or two, but it's difficult, and I'm figuring out how I'm going to deal with that. I'm trying to figure out how to deal with that. So, anyways, I'm looking at like, man, I need to be around those actors, and I need to be around that fandom. So whatever that
Yeah.
means, even if I get to just be in the vendor's room, then yeah, great,
Yeah.
that's fine. I need it. So you have to do what makes you happy in life, not what pays your bills all the time. You have to go where your soul is happy. And I learned that lesson over those 2 years of the pandemic where I didn't show up for
Sure.
conventions. I need to be at conventions. They fulfill me. My wife whispered in my ear, I'll never forget it, right on my first creation convention back. She gave me a hug and she said, go fill yourself up. And she sees me when I come home. Yeah, maybe tired,
Mm.
exhausted, sick, whatever, but there's some twinkle in my eye because the heart in my chest is at capacity. You know, it's been filled with all the good and all the right in the world that a weekend can give you, germs and all. You know what I'm saying? It's a good way to be, and then I can be a better person for my family because, you know, the fandom really helps me be a better person along with the, you know, the actors on the other side of it.
Yeah, 100%. I think that there was the thing we were talking about earlier, with there being like a lot of new people in, and that also means that a lot of the older familiar faces are out in terms of fans. There's a lot of fans we used to see constantly, we don't see anymore. And I think there was a kind of 50-50 that people after the pandemic either went, well, you know, it's been 2 years, I've done it without it for 2 years, I'm going to move on, I don't need to come back. And then there was those of us who were like, this is what's been missing for 2 years, I'm going to do twice as many because I need to make up for that deficit of the time that I've lost in those 2 years. But I know a lot of people that didn't come back just because, you know, they are expensive. It is, you know, people's commitments change. The pandemic, you know, was very hard on a lot of people financially, health wise, family stuff. And so a lot of fans, I think, did fall by the wayside that were familiar people. So it's great that they are getting new fans in. But for me, it was very much that kind of thing of like, I've lost 2 years of doing this. I need to get back and I need to do as much as I can because this is what gives me joy. This is my community. This is what I love to do. I don't think I've got a stamp in my passport that doesn't involve me flying to see Rich somewhere. I mean that's not even a joke. I think there may be one. Yeah, I think one. Other than that, everything in my passport is, you know, cons, concerts, and that thing. And some people might think that's weird or sad, but to me, that's what gets me out of my comfort zone. That's what makes me travel. So for me, yeah, it's been the same thing. It's been a thing that's made me a better person. It's made me a stronger person. I think cons and the community, you hear a lot of the negatives in fandom, and you know, it's a couple of people and they're very loud, and sometimes you can think that that's all of it because they're the loudest often. But the main kind of tranche of the community, I think, is a real positive force. And it's really nice to hear somebody talk about that, particularly from, you know, the other side, as it were.
Yeah, and there's a lot of healing that goes on in the green room amongst the actors. You know, there's never a
Mm.
convention where one of us is in some sort of crisis, right? There's,
Oh,
you know, there's 10 or 12 of us on the road together. We all have families and spouses and, you know, we're all at this age, right? Where most of us are in this unique kind of 40 to 60 window where we're
mhm.
losing a lot of people, whether it be our
Yeah.
friends dying prematurely in their 40s or our elderly family members.
Sure.
And it's just like, you know, it is a hard, listen, life is hard. And if you have a group of people that make you happy and you can go through it with them by your side, do it. And I extend that to the supernatural fandom as well, the people that haven't come back. I
Mm.
understand it's expensive and all these things. And beyond money, you have to kind of look at it like, well, where's that vacation you go to restore your soul or restore
Yeah.
whatever it is in you that you know, kind of dim down while you do your regular Monday to Friday routine? Where is it that you go to be refreshed? If it's not a supernatural convention, okay, but as long as you have that, you need that. You got to give yourself that. And if it is a supernatural convention, great, so be it. Don't deny it because you're like, wow, I spent my money again on a supernatural convention. I
Yeah.
know people who will go to the same bar their entire life. So,
Sure.
right, they're buying the same beer and drinking the same drink and seeing the same folks. And so that, like, what supernatural conventions can be that bar, only a lot healthier and a lot more spiritual and a lot more
Yeah. Yeah.
enlightening and a lot more this, that, or the other thing. And yeah, you can drink in and around a convention. You know, it's not like you can't enjoy yourself as an adult, but you can also enjoy yourself as an underaged, you know,
Yeah.
teenager or even, you know, a younger kid. And it's awesome and it's for everybody. And I say, don't deny yourself the thing that makes you happy. I am pro do what makes you happy as long as it's not harming somebody else.
Yeah.
Who cares? Do it. Do whatever makes you happy.
100%.
And
Who needs
I'm all,
attention? Fine.
yeah.
There's never wasted time. I guess we should talk about public domain though, because
Ooh,
obviously that's the kind of
yes.
the big subject at the minute. Obviously, I hope you noticed.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you. And
Yeah.
that is Scout's original
Yep.
logo. This our Supernatural fandom's own Scout. I never say her last name, but it starts with a V, but I always say it wrong. I think it's Villegas,
Yeah.
Villegas.
Yeah, I don't either. Scout Steel
But
is that'll
she's
do.
a remarkable artist, and she got us basically off the ground with our, me and Sean, we have these wacky concepts of what these characters should look like, and we can write it into a sentence, but we need an artist to help us kind of, picture it
Sure.
on paper and then grow it from there. And Scout really did that for us, so it was lovely. But Public Domain is a new adult animated cartoon, and I don't mean adult as in triple X, I mean adult as in PG-13 or maybe a
Hmm.
soft R rating, along the lines of like an Archer or a Family Guy, something like that.
Hmm.
And the show is a lot like the show Cheers, right? Cheers was this lovely bar that everybody could come to and they could talk about their problems. And in the door walks in your favorite guest star. And then the next week in the other door walks your next favorite guest star. So we took that concept and we called our bar the Public Domain. Now, that public domain, for people who don't know, is characters that are free to use from any project after a certain period of time. Their copyright expires. Now they can extend the copyright on a specific version of the character, but the character becomes public domain, free to use for anybody after, I believe it's like 75 years or a
Yeah.
certain period after the death of the creator, something like this. So we took all of the characters in the public domain, and there are about 150 of them, and 150 characters that you don't have to be reminded of because you know these characters' names. It's everything from Frankenstein to King Kong to Cthulhu, the Little Mermaid, Hercules, Three Little Pigs, the Big Bad Wolf, all the Winnie the Pooh characters, many of the Disney princesses, Zeus and all the gods, Tarzan, Popeye's coming in January. Ooh, and this is the exciting part. Every year we get new characters released into the public domain
Cool.
that
Yeah.
we will then create as the kind of aged up version of itself. And in the public domain, these characters await their next, whether it be their reboot or their prequel, but they're worn and torn and they've lived a lot, right? The the concept came off a sentence that a friend of mine and I came up with. And the concept was, so 10 girls auditioned to be the Little Mermaid. This is the story of the other nine. And then we said, well, what's every other character's story once they're been rebooted 200 times and they're over it and their relationships are falling apart outside the movie set. I want to talk about their kids and their families and their dysfunctional uncle and all that. So we're going to open the can of worms on every character you've known and loved. You'll feel complete nostalgia. You'll see these characters in a way you haven't ever seen them before, both visually and what you're hearing come off the page. And it's going to be really fun. And not to mention, if that's not enough, right? If that's not enough to get you on board a cartoon, being completely nostalgic and starring all of your favorite characters that you've known and loved your whole life, we are going to voice those characters by the Supernatural cast. We've already announced Brianna, Ruth, I think Kim, I think Osric, I think Rob, Rich, myself, my wife, Adam Fergus. No, my wife has not been in Supernatural, but she's Supernatural adjacent enough that she's in there.
Supernatural family, as far
Um,
as I'm concerned.
and these actors that are already on board will voice more than one character. So you might get one Richard Speight Jr. voicing one very drunk, angry Santa Claus who's sick of delivering presents year after year after year and eating the same bullshit cookies. Maybe he wants to go vegan and have an electric sled and let the deers rest. We're gonna explore those concepts. It's gonna be really fun. And if the Scooby Doo of Supernatural, the Scooby Doo episode of Supernatural taught us anything, is that I heard Jared and Jensen both say in that episode that they'll do 1,000 episodes if they were animated of Supernatural like
Yeah.
that. So I plan on involving Jared and Jensen in any way, shape, or form in the public domain, as well as any of their friends from any of their surrounding shows. The fun in being an actor and being able to do a voiceover of a character, a recreation of a character you've known your whole life, is you get to deliver whatever version of that character you want. It's yours
Yeah.
and you're doing it for the first time. And I think a lot of my actor friends are really excited at the aspect of playing a character they've known and loved their whole life, but through their lens. I think it's going to be a really fun project. And we have an Indiegogo. We're raising funds we're trying to raise about $50,000 to produce, animate, and release for free the first 30-minute episode, which would consist of probably two 15-minute episodes of the show, and release it to the fans, produced by the fans, and in success, take that viewership to the studio and go, look, guys, while you guys were twiddling your thumbs trying to bail yourself out of all these streaming nightmares, we went off and made this show, build an audience, and we have the best actors in the world involved. Give us an order of 7 million episodes and let's go to the races.
It's one of those concepts that you're almost surprised no one else has thought of it before, because it just seems such a genius but simple idea. It's like all those characters are just sitting there for the picking. It's just, I think, yeah, really,
You
really
know,
cool, really fun.
one of the interesting holdups with some people is it's not original IP that they can own, right? So like a
Yeah,
network can't
sure.
own it.
Yeah,
So what, right? More power to the next person to create the next show featuring the same characters and give us another rendition. We've
oh,
seen fucking every vampire movie and every superhero movie and every horror movie recreated 7,000 times, and
yeah.
every action movie, and we still love them and we still see them and we don't give a shit who plays the character. We still show up and buy the ticket. So great. You guys can't own the IP? Fine. We're going to the fans, the people who want to speak up, dollar by dollar, grassroots effort, every podcast, every radio station, anybody that's willing to listen to us. And I promise you, I will create your next favorite animated sitcom. 100%. Listen, I love new shows, right? You sit down at Game of Thrones, you're like, holy shit, look at this universe. You sit down at Harry Potter, you see, oh my gosh, mesmerizing filmmaking, creative writing, absolute. Wait, what's his name? Wait, what's that thing they said? What's that magic spell? I gotta rewind it. I don't. Wait, where's he from? The one difference in public domain in that is you know the backstory, you know the names, and you know the mythology behind every character. You're 100% invested upon first sight of seeing this character, and you're like, well, I know this about you. Now what can you tell me? And we're going to tell you all of that shit. All of it.
Sounds amazing.
It's
Really,
going to be
really,
great.
really
I'm
good
telling you,
concept.
I am the type of filmmaker that can't do something that I don't want to see. And I have a really arguably, I'm up for debate on it, but I think in my opinion, have a really good needle of what's entertaining, silly, fun. It's got all the pieces, right? It's got to have a little heart. It's got to have a little fun. It's got to be a little, a little aggressive. It's got to have all these different things. And I think I have a good taste meter for what the people are going to like. And I make projects that I want to see. And I think if I make them the way I want to see them, that people are going to be like, holy shit, this is really fun. This is really fun.
That sounds great. Obviously, we'll put the link up for fans to kind of get involved with the Indiegogo as well. 'Cause, when does that end, actually?
It doesn't end. It's supposed to
Oh,
like
right.
end right now, but you can keep it ongoing. And
Okay.
I think that's what we're planning on doing. We're working with the Indiegogo team right now to kind of help us keep moving forward and keep raising money. We knew it would be slow over the holidays,
Sure.
obviously, but we try to, make some perks on there that would be funny holiday gifts. I just recently released an absolutely naughty Matt Cohen Santa card. So if you need something to send a friend, there's a scantily clad Matt Cohen Santa card as a perk, and it is a very reasonable price to help produce your next favorite adult animated sitcom.
Fantastic. Well, you can't get a better selling point than that, really, can you?
Come on, I'm taking it all off, and my offer still stands. I told people, and I might have to really sneak into a convention now, but I said at $50,000, I will streak through a convention in a mankini or a banana hammock, whatever you want to call it.
Good Lord. That's giving me Kings of Con flashback.
That's right. And we're basing it solely off that. And those people who out there
Yeah.
who don't know, do yourself a favor or don't do yourself a favor. Look up the video when we are raising money for Kings of Con. I said I'd streak through the streets of Silver Lake, and I did that, and I did it in the nude, and Rob and Rich filmed it, and we helped get that show up to about $200,000. And that show's still very much alive in a lot of different aspects. We are
Yeah.
constantly creating behind the scenes, and hopefully one day that turns into a movie or a
Yeah.
follow-up series or something.